Hola, mijo.
¿Cómo está?
Aquí va tu nombre, ¿ve? Y el número favorito. Se lo voy a mandar. No hay que llorar. Hay que ser fuerte, usted.
For the past 3 years, David and his son Adelso have communicated only by phone. Adelso is just one of about 5,500 children who was taken from a parent as a result of the Trump administration's family separation policy. They are among more than 1,000 families who have been waiting for the Biden administration to follow through on a promise to reunify them.
Lo hacían como una forma de chantaje. Despedite de tu hijo porque a tu hijo ya nunca lo vas a ver jamás.
Now, there is a new sense of hope as the Biden government starts to reunite a handful of families. But David and Adelso's story, split between Guatemala and Florida, offers a first-hand look at the continuing psychological effects of separation.
En los sueños siempre lo matan.
And how the delay in reuniting families has in some cases encouraged people to make a desperate trek back to the U.S. David and his son spoke with us on condition that we not use their full names and conceal their identities. Since he was jailed and deported, David has kept a low profile in the countryside, evading the gangs he says extorted the trucking business he worked for and threatened his family before they fled to the U.S.
¿Me puede contar cómo llegó a un punto tan grave que tenía que huir?
Me confundieron que yo era el dueño del negocio y Adelso tenía 11 años y él recibió la llamada de que si yo no iba a cancelar tanto dinero, pues a él lo iban a matar.
¿A él?
A él. Es una de las cosas que a nosotros nos obliga a tomar maletas para buscar un refugio. El gobierno no nos brinda seguridad a como debe ser. Hace dos semanas apareció otra persona quemada en un basurero.
David was deported to Guatemala after serving 30 days in U.S. prison for the crime of illegal re-entry. Neither David, his wife, or their other children have seen Adelso since.
We can make America once again the leading force for good in the world.
Days after he took office, President Joe Biden signed an executive order to reunify families separated under the Trump administration.
The reestablishment of the Interagency Task Force and the reunification of families.
This week, as migrant apprehensions approached the highest level in 20 years, the Department of Homeland Security announced that it would bring 4 mothers to the U.S. to reunite with their children. The U.S. will reunify another 35 or so families in the coming weeks as part of a pilot project, which David and Adelso might be a part of. But this is just a start, and the process for reunifying all families could take months and even years. In David's town of several thousand people, I found 3 other parents who were forcibly separated from their children under zero tolerance. Melvin Jacinto and his 14-year-old son tried to enter the U.S. to look for work that would pay for, among other things, his daughter's hip surgery.
Cuéntame un poco sobre el momento de la separación.
Agarré a mi nene que no quería soltarlo, pero me agarraron y mi nene llorando se fue lo llevaron a encerrar y no pude hacer nada.
Melvin and his wife Martha's son, Rosendo, now lives with a relative in Minneapolis. They too rely on video calls to stay connected.
Mijo.
Cuando él llama, él se pone a hablar con ella, yo mejor me retiro. Cuando yo lo miro, me pongo a llorar, no sé, casi como que si me entró un tipo de trauma, algo así. Que estoy mal, no duermo.
¿Cómo estás?
Bien, ¿y ustedes?
Pues la verdad que yo quiero intentar irme otra vez. Porque solo en esa forma puedo ayudar a mis familias.
The reality is that work is really scarce here. Melvin takes what jobs he can find, but the family relies on money sent from Rosendo, their teenage son, who's now working in the U.S. We visited the homes of 2 other fathers who were separated from their kids at the border, and were told they'd already made the return trip to reunite with them.
¿Usted es la esposa de uno?
Sí, soy la esposa. Fue el 8 de enero. Salieron ellos de acá y se regresaron ellos porque por los hijos, porque se quedaron ahí solos, por ellos intentaron de ir otra vez, pero gracias a Dios llegaron ellos bien.
She allowed me to speak with her husband on her phone.
Juan Bernardo es.
¿Y pueden hablar sobre lo que pasó?
He said he reunited with his son in Fort Lauderdale and was staying in a house with other migrants. We heard of other parents as well, deported to Guatemala and Honduras, who'd already made the perilous journey to reunite with their children. According to immigration lawyers, about 1,000 separated kids have yet to see their parents again. They've had to grow up fast, placed in the care of foster families or relatives. For the last 3 years, Adelso's been living with his aunt, Teresa Quiñones, in Boca Raton, Florida. He's been attending school and plays soccer in his spare time, but he still struggles with the trauma of what happened in Guatemala and at the border.
Yo he tenido sueños donde pasa algo malo sobre mí, con alguien familiar mío, entonces me da miedo.
¿Son pesadillas?
Sí, las pesadillas que yo he tenido es más con mi papá. Lo secuestran y que piden cosas para que lo podamos ver con vida. Entonces yo en mi sueño trato de hacer algo como para ayudarlo, para que él salga con vida. Pero siempre en el sueño siempre lo matan.
¿Con qué frecuencia has tenido ese día?
Me ha pasado como 5 o 6 veces desde que nos separaron y siempre con el mismo final. Y tengo miedo de que pueda ser real.
Unlike some of the separated kids, Adelso does have support.
Yes, definitely. I would go there in the morning too. Yeah.
His Aunt Teresa came to the U.S. as an unaccompanied minor and later became a legal resident. She stepped in to give Adelso the care she didn't have when she came to the U.S. as a teenager.
I can say that I understand his pain not being with mom and dad. Even if you are with someone familiar somehow, still, it's not the same.
Hubo muchos cambios en la rutina. ¿Cuánto estrés sientes en este momento? ¿Estoy en un 5, o estoy en un 8, o estoy en un 2?
Once a month, Adelso talks with a child psychologist at Florida State University's Center for Child Stress and Health. The service is paid through a government settlement for families separated under the zero-tolerance policy.
¿Está bien?
Adelso is one of several children affected by zero tolerance that Natalia Falcon now works with in South Florida.
I've been working with Adelso and his family for a little bit over 6 months. We see a lot of sleeping issues. You know, they can't sleep, they can't fall asleep, or the nightmares, right? We have to look at nightmares very delicately. Those recurring memories, flashbacks of that traumatic event is one of the main symptoms of PTSD.
No, no estoy llorando.
Studies show that childhood trauma left unaddressed can negatively affect health and relationships long into adulthood.
Es un sentimiento que a veces te llega fuerte y me pongo como a pensar de que porque tuvo que ser ese día que yo estaba tratando de hacer algo y lo hago mal por esos recuerdos y se siente mal, se siente muy feo.
I don't want him to get depressed. He can get him to that place like, oh, I just want to be alone. That's why I try to bring him out and do things with them.
After being separated from his dad, Adelso spent 2 months in a New York shelter with other separated kids before Teresa finally won his release.
I still remember seeing him coming out of the airport. His little face, like, it's heartbreaking. And sometimes I see him now. He has grown so much in this time that he came here. He has become so mature, and that's hard to see too, because it's like life pushing you to be that mature. You're not enjoying your being a child.
For now, Adelso and David continue to work with their lawyers and hope to be part of the first wave of reunions.
Pensaba de que nunca más lo iba a ver y me dieron la opción de quedarme o regresarme con él, pero yo decidí quedarme porque yo sabía de que yo iba a estar aquí para ayudar a mi familia.
As for David, he told us that he can only wait so long, and that he has also considered paying a smuggler to cross back into the U.S. and claim asylum again.
Yo necesito ver a mi hijo, y él me necesita a mí.